Imagine uncovering a spiritual ancestor from nearly a century ago, someone teaching really powerful principles of manifestation, self-empowerment, long before they became, mainstream.
But it's pretty startling, isn't it, how modern some of these ideas feel?
Right. Our deep dive today introduces you to a figure whose ideas just resonate so uncannily with modern self-help, modern spiritual movements. It shows you just how deep the roots of some of these transformative concepts really are.
It really is remarkable, and we're going to trace that lineage for you, show how these things connect back.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We're embarking on a deep dive into the fascinating world of Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America.
A truly unique figure and movement.
Our mission here is to try and illuminate his life, his unique teachings, put them in the context of 1920s Harlem, which was just buzzing with energy.
An incredible time and place.
And unveil these surprising, honestly undeniable connections to today's law of attraction philosophies, especially people like Neville Goddard.
Yeah, the Goddard link is particularly interesting. Prepare to discover how deeply rooted some of these transformative concepts truly are.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Our story begins in the rural Carolinas, 1886. The birth of a boy named Timothy Drew.
Right, Timothy Drew. And according to some accounts, his parents had actually been enslaved.
His early life, though,
Yeah.
it's genuinely shrouded in legend, almost like his biography itself was meant to be part myth, part history.
That's a really insightful way to put it. The Moorish account of young Timothy's journey is especially vivid, almost archetypal.
What does it say?
Well, it describes him leaving home at just 16, joining a band of gypsies who supposedly carried him across oceans to these mystical lands, Morocco, Egypt, Palestine.
Wow.
And the narrative really emphasizes him discovering secrets hidden for ages, learning at the feet of ancient sages who saw something special in him.
It sounds like something out of a novel, like Paulo Coelho, maybe.
Exactly. It has that feel. Charting a soul guided by some unseen hand. And this origin story, whether you take it literally or, symbolically, it deeply informs the authority he later claims.
Okay, so that sets the stage for his, dramatic reappearance. By the 1910s, Timothy Drew is back in America.
But reinvented.
Right, as Noble Drew Ali. And now he's claiming the title of prophet.
With a mission, a message to uplift fallen humanity.
And in 1913, he's still young, just 27. He founds the Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey.
Planting the seeds, really, for what would grow into the Moorish Science Temple of America.
It's like he returned with something tangible.
Like an alchemist with the Philosopher's Stone, yeah. He brought back this esoteric scripture. He called it the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, or sometimes the Circle 7 Quran.
Okay, the Circle 7 Quran. And what was its purpose?
He presented it as containing these divine lessons needed to redeem his people, a kind of hidden truth finally unveiled. Its foreword even claimed these secrets had been kept safe by Muslims in India, Egypt, Palestine. But now, for the first time in ages, Allah had delivered them in the hands of the Muslims of America.
So Ali is positioning himself as this chosen vessel, right?
Yeah.
Unveiling ancient lost wisdom.
Precisely. And here's the really profound shift he initiated. His central teaching was that African Americans were actually of Moorish descent.
Moorish descent?
Yeah, inheritors of a grand forgotten heritage. He presented himself as having brought them a lost spiritual key to reclaim their true identity, their agency.
For people at that time, that must have been a radical, incredibly empowering redefinition of who they were.
Absolutely transformative for many.
Now, picture Ali in 1920s Harlem. How did he present himself?
He cut a really impressive figure, dignified, serene, often seen in a regal robe and a red fez.
Like symbolic armor for his mission?
Kind of, yeah. Vintage portraits show this leader draped in garments that sort of blend the look of a caliph and a priest. His presence was apparently quite magnetic.
And his message stood out.
Oh, definitely. It was far more eclectic and esoteric than Orthodox Christianity. It immediately set him apart in that really vibrant, spiritually charged Harlem environment.
Okay, so let's talk about that environment. To really get Ali's impact, you have to understand 1920s Harlem.
Absolutely crucial context.
It wasn't just jazz and art, right? He was this swirling cauldron of new spiritual and intellectual movements.
Exactly. One scholar called it a hotbed of religious and metaphysical exploration. There was this whole universe of esoteric and alternative spirituality flourishing right alongside the jazz clubs.
So what kind of groups are we talking about?
It was a really diverse spiritual marketplace. You had storefront churches preaching Black nationalist Christianity, various proto-Islamic groups popping up.
Okay.
Philosophers philosophies like theosophy were around, exploring these universal spiritual truths from different traditions. Even Masonic rites with their symbols and teachings, all competing, all thriving. It shows this deep hunger for meaning, for uplift.
And Noble Drew Ali wasn't alone in this space. Harlem was home to other powerful Black prophets and mystics, too.
That's right. You had figures like Marcus Garvey, huge influence. His UNIA movement preached Black self-reliance, mental empowerment, often using affirmations drawn straight from New Thought ideas.
That's right, Garvey. Who else?
Then there was Father Divine, who actually claimed divinity and preached prosperity. Rabbi Wentworth Matthew, who founded the Commandment Keepers, an early Black Hebrew Israelite congregation.
Interesting.
And even someone like Black Herman, the stage magician, who had his own kind of mystical aura. It was a really dynamic mix.
So the compelling takeaway here is how Noble Drew Ali's Moorish Science Temple really thrived in this specific environment.
Exactly. It offered Black Americans something profoundly new, a new vision of themselves.
How so?
Well, they were told they were no longer these downtrodden Negroes. Instead, they were descendants of ancient sages, divine beings with creative power.
That's a powerful message.
It wasn't just a change in belief. It was psychological liberation.
That phrase, psychological liberation, did it work across the board? Or were there, challenges or criticisms, maybe even within the movement itself?
That's a great point to consider. Scholar Judith Weisenfeld talks about this. She notes that groups like the Moorish Science Temple consciously traded that imposed Negro identity for what she calls a rightly tuned religio-racial mind.
A rightly tuned religio-racial mind. What does that mean?
It meant unlocking new potential by fundamentally changing how you saw yourself and your heritage. Ali taught that Black Americans were Asiatics, specifically Moors by nationality.
Moors by nationality.
Yes, and that understanding allowed them, he believed, to overcome what he called European psychology. It was about reclaiming heritage and agency on this really fundamental mental level.
And the fascinating connection here is how deeply Harlem's spiritual scene was tied into these broader New Thought movements, right? The mind power stuff.
Absolutely interwoven.
Yeah.
The Temple's newspaper, the Moorish Guide, was crucial here. It was sold on Harlem streets, spreading the Prophet's teachings, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
And those iconic red fezzes.
They became a common sight by the late 1920s, worn by street orators. It was a very visible sign of how these ideas were actively shaping public consciousness.
So given this whole environment, this ferment, how did Ali's own core teachings specifically tap into that? His Moorish science, it was this unique fusion, wasn't it?
A very unique fusion. You had Islam, Christianity, Freemasonry, New Thought metaphysics, Pan-African identity, all blended together, specifically crafted to uplift his people.
What was at the heart of it?
At its core, it was about reconnecting with your true divine identity. Ali famously wrote in his Holy Quran, the Circle 7 Quran, if you would ask me what to study, I would say yourself.
Study yourselves.
And when you've well studied them, ask me what to study next, I would reply yourselves. He explained there were two selves, a higher self divine, a spark of God, or Allah, and a lower self, the ego, the source of evil.
The lower self is the source of evil.
Yes. He stated, quite radically, the only devil from which men must be redeemed is self, the lower self. If man would find his devil, he must look within. His name is self.
Wow.
If man would find his savior, he must look within.
That's a profound statement. Really puts the power and the responsibility inside. How does that translate into the specific teachings in his Holy Quran?
It leads directly to some really radical concepts. First, this idea of the divinity of the self. Ali taught, teach them that Allah and man are one. Man tore himself away from Allah.
Allah and man are one.
And he further emphasized, but man himself is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah. Man was depicted as literally a thought of Allah, infinite, immortal.
That's not just abstract theology. That gives people an incredibly empowering self-concept, doesn't it? A sense of inherent divinity.
Exactly. It's deeply empowering.
And this idea of divinity within, it seems to lead straight to another concept that sounds incredibly modern. The mind as creator.
Precisely. This is where it really foreshadows things like the law of attraction. Ali wrote, the ethers cause these powers to be, and thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking things, directs the force.
Thought directs the force, meaning?
Meaning consciousness guides energy to produce outcomes in the world. He taught that man's original role was as a co-creator, the Lord of all the plane of manifest. But we lost that by identifying with the lower self, the ego.
So the goal is to get that back.
To regain that birthright, yes. As one temple elder explained it, Ali taught that the tools of a rightly tuned mind could overcome the mind's subjugation and actually activate the powers of the higher self.
Okay, so Moorish science wasn't just abstract philosophy. It clearly had this deeply moral and practical side too.
Right.
What did that look like day to day for followers?
It was incredibly holistic. The core principles were love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These weren't just words. Members were expected to live ethical lives.
Like how?
Things like no smoking or drinking, maintaining high personal conduct, and obedience to the law that was important too. The Moorish guide declared, "We are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people."
And the economic part was key.
Very key. Ali even established businesses like the Moorish Manufacturing Corporation, aiming for self-sufficiency. He famously said, "We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people cannot develop the highest in them."
So it's this whole
A
package.
truly holistic view, yeah. Combining mind science, moral living, and practical uplift.
And underpinning all of this, you mentioned a message of universalism and syncretism.
Yes, he taught universal human unity and respect for all faiths.
How did that manifest?
He believed that the major prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, all essentially brought the same fundamental truth, just adapted for their time and people. His Quran even includes stories of Jesus called Isa, traveling in India, Tibet, and Egypt, learning from sages. He urged his followers, "Know thyself. Behold a part of Allah himself within thee. Remember thine own dignity, nor dare descend to evil or to meanness."
So it blends different traditions.
Absolutely. It skillfully blends Islamic monotheism, the idea of one God, Allah, with these new thought and even Hindu ideas of the divine self within. He proclaimed, "Man cannot die. The spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die."
Where did this scripture actually come from?
That's crucial. The Circle 7 Quran was compiled by Ali himself. He drew heavily from earlier occult and New Thought sources.
Like what?
Notably, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ by Levi Dowling for the Jesus narratives, and various Masonic and esoteric wisdom texts for other sections.
So if we were to distill Ali's teachings down to a single profound takeaway for us today, what would it be?
I'd say it's this. God is within us, Allah and man are one, and our thoughts and beliefs literally shape our reality. By knowing our true divine self and living by love and truth, we can transcend limitation and manifest a better life.
It really was a form of mind science meets Black liberation theology, wasn't it?
Exactly. Bridging that early 20th century New Thought with what would come later in New Age circles and Black nationalist spiritual movements.
It's just striking how modern some of his ideas sound. Like he was speaking directly to today's whole manifestation scene.
The connections are incredibly clear.
Especially to the law of attraction. I mean, while Noble Drew Ali didn't use that exact term,
No, he didn't.
his teachings definitely anticipated the core concepts.
He absolutely did. The law of attraction, basically posits that thoughts become things, that our mental and emotional state attracts corresponding experiences. Ali was teaching nearly a century ago that thought is a force, and that our inner condition directly dictates our outer reality. The parallel is just undeniable.
And his idea that the only devil is one's lower self, that also resonates strongly with modern LOA, doesn't it?
It connects perfectly. Modern LOA often talks about low vibrations creating undesirable reality, while high vibrations, which are essentially the qualities of the higher self, create harmony and attract good things.
So Ali's emphasis on tuning the mind rightly.
It was basically an early articulation of raise your consciousness and your world will reflect it.
Okay, this is where the dots really start to connect, especially when we bring in someone like Neville Goddard.
Ah, Neville.
Neville, who lived from 1905 to 1972, famously taught that imagination is God. And he said he learned his techniques in the early 1930s in New York.
From Abdullah.
Right, from a mysterious Ethiopian Jewish mystic known as Abdullah.
And Abdullah was a significant figure right there in Harlem's metaphysical scene, a contemporary of Noble Drew Ali.
So they were around at the same time.
Yes. And given how interconnected Harlem's spiritual community was, it's highly likely Abdullah and Ali knew of each other, even if they didn't interact directly. It just shows how deeply intertwined these threads of thought were in that place at that time.
It's compelling to see how all these Harlem mystics you mentioned, Father Divine earlier, W.D. Fard, who founded the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
They all seem to have drawn from that same wellspring of New Thought philosophy.
That shared influence really explains a lot of the thematic overlaps we see cropping up.
Can you give an example of Ali's direct impact on mindset related to this?
Well, a really powerful one was his insistence that followers reject imposed labels like Negro or colored. Instead, by actively speaking affirmations of their true identity as Moorish Americans, he believed they could literally change their reality.
Changing reality through changing identity.
Exactly. Sister M. Whitehead L., one of his followers, recalled that the Prophet mended the broken wires and have connected them with the higher powers. It was about rewiring their consciousness.
And we can draw some really concrete, powerful parallels between Ali's teachings and Neville Goddard's.
Let's break those down.
Okay, first, imagination as divine. Ali taught that man's imagination and thought are empowered by Allah's will, that man is a part of Allah himself within thee.
And Neville, of course, famously declared, your imagination is God, and imagining creates reality. Both clearly saw the human mind as this channel for the Creator's power.
Then there's the concept of faith, or what Neville called the law of assumption.
Right. Ali defined faith as the surety of the omnipotence of Allah and man, the certainty that man will reach the deific life. He even outlined this three-step ladder: belief, then faith, then fruition.
And Neville
similarly taught the crucial importance of assuming the feeling of the wish already fulfilled, feeling it as real now.
Okay, what about the vibration of love?
Ali's Moorish science places love right at the apex of its virtues. It says when the demon self has been dethroned, the savior love will be exalted to the throne of power.
That's a direct parallel to modern LOA, which constantly stresses the high vibration of love.
Absolutely. And perhaps the most fundamental connection is changing the conception of self.
Neville's core message.
Yes. Change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world you live in. And Ali put this into direct practice.
How?
By giving people new names like Bey or El and issuing these nationality cards. These weren't just symbolic. They were tools to help people actively assume their Moorish identity, profoundly shifting their self-concept on a daily practical level.
That's a profound transformation of identity right there. So what's the bigger picture here? The wider impact?
Well, scholars have noted that this whole Harlem Renaissance spiritual scene, Ali, Abdullah, Father Divine, others, it really helped sow the seeds of what would become a global New Age fascination with manifestation and the law of attraction.
So in a very real sense, Ali was teaching the secret decades before it became a movie phenomenon.
You could definitely argue that. What really stands out, though, is that Ali connected this thought power not just with individual gains, but with communal uplift.
Right, it wasn't just about personal prosperity.
No. He aimed to manifest a clean and pure nation of Moorish Americans. This was manifestation as social revolution, achieved through a profound shift in collective consciousness.
Let's take a closer look now at Moorish science itself, maybe positioning it as this Afrocentric branch of the New Thought family tree. You mentioned its influence from the Aquarian gospel.
Yeah, the parallels and the differences when compared directly to mainstream New Thought are really fascinating.
Okay, let's compare. First, divine immanence, God within.
Both Moorish science and New Thought strongly assert this. Ali taught man is a spirit and a part of Allah. New Thought speaks of a divine spark, or humans as individualizations of the divine. In both, there's no need for an external priest or intermediary to connect with God.
And the power of thought.
Again, a core similarity. Both traditions emphasize thoughts as causal forces. Ali said, human thought directs the force. New Thought explicitly teaches our thoughts create our reality. Both advocated for mental discipline, affirmations, positive thinking to shape your life.
What about identity and self-concept? We touched on this, but comparing them directly.
Ali introduced that really radical shift from Negro to Moorish American, using new names, the nationality cards. It was potent mental reconditioning. New Thought, while not focused on race in the same way, similarly focused on transcending a limiting sin identity to embrace one's true nature as a spiritual being. Both were fundamentally about rewriting the narrative of who you are.
How did they view evil and suffering?
Also quite similar. Both generally reject a personified devil. Evil isn't some external force, but rather the result of the lower self's ignorance, as Ali might put it, or error thinking in New Thought terms. This puts the emphasis squarely on personal responsibility for your experience, although Ali's movement did temper this with a strong ethic of mutual aid and community support.
Where do they differ most significantly?
A key difference lies in their framing: religious syncretism versus a primarily Christian framework. Ali framed Moorish science using Islamic terms, Allah, Quran, temple, but it was deeply multi-religious, recognizing Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, all as prophets.
Whereas New Thought,
New Thought, historically, was generally framed in Christian language. Its adherents often called themselves metaphysical Christians. Also, Moorish science was a distinct, unified movement with a clear structure. New Thought was, and is, much more diffuse, a collection of independent centers and teachers.
and perhaps the biggest difference, race and mission.
Absolutely. Ali's movement was explicitly laser-focused on uplifting African Americans. It addressed civil rights, economic self-help, and fundamentally redefining Black identity in America. New Thought, primarily aimed at a general and historically largely white audience, was mostly apolitical on racial matters.
So more science was really New Thought-type mind power teaching used to fuel a Black nationalist movement.
That's a very accurate way to put it.
What about their practices? Any overlap there?
Yes, definite commonalities. Both used affirmative prayer and stressed the importance of studying spiritual texts. Moorish science had its specific catechism, greetings like Islam, more. New Thought utilized techniques like visualization and breath work more explicitly.
And healing.
Interestingly, Ali actually began his public work as a healer known as Professor Drew, the Egyptian Adept. This emphasis on holistic wellness and mind cure aligns perfectly with early New Thought. The core ethos for both was consistently spirit over matter.
It's really compelling to see more science as this convergence of Islam, Freemasonry, and New Thought with a heavy dose of Garveyite racial uplift.
Absolutely. It was an undeniable, vibrant part of the American occult metaphysics bubbling up during the Harlem Renaissance.
While New Thought blossomed separately as, the philosophical ancestor of today's broader mind, body, spirit, and manifestation movements.
Truly different branches growing from the same mystical tree, you could say, each powerfully addressing the unique needs and context of its community.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's try and field some common questions you might still have listening to this. First, just a quick recap. Who was Noble Drew Ali, really?
Okay, quickly. Noble Drew Ali, born Timothy Drew in 1886, was a really significant American religious leader and mystic. He founded the Moorish Science Temple of America, or MSTA, back in 1913. He's revered by followers as a prophet.
And his core message?
He taught that African Americans were actually Moorish by ancestry and had a Muslim heritage. He's also the creator or compiler of the Holy Quran of the MSTA, the Circle 7 Quran. He passed away relatively young in 1929, but his movement continued and left a really profound, lasting mark.
And the MSTA itself, what exactly is it beyond just its history?
The MSTA is generally considered the first major Black American-led Islamic-oriented movement in the U.S., actually predating the Nation of Islam. It functions as kind of a church, a civic league, and a fraternal order all rolled into one.
Teaching what, primarily?
Teaching that Black people are Moorish by nationality and Muslim by faith. Members often adopt surnames like Bey or El, wear fezzes or turbans as identifiers, and carry nationality cards. Their motto encapsulates the core values: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And importantly, the MSTA still exists today. It's a testament to its enduring legacy.
If you had to pick one enduring message that truly defines Ali's key teachings and legacy for us today, what would it be?
Oh, that's tough. But I think at its heart, it's that profound redefinition of identity. Moving from externally imposed labels to reclaiming a noble divine heritage, that single shift was revolutionary, and it really underpins everything else he taught, from the mind's creative power to the call for collective uplift and self-reliance.
So the core concepts flowing from that.
The divinity of man, our higher self, being one with Allah, his unique Holy Quran as a guide. The power of mental mastery, our thoughts being real forces we can learn to control. Universal love and peace as guiding principles. And tying it all into practical uplift industry, self-reliance, healthy living, it really blended spiritual enlightenment with social restoration.
Okay, let's clarify the Islam connection. How does Moorish science relate to Orthodox Islam? Are they the same thing?
That's a really important distinction. It's best understood as an Islamic new religious movement, but it's not Orthodox Islam. While it definitely incorporated Islamic elements using the name Allah, recognizing Muhammad, having temple structures, the Circle 7 Quran is completely distinct from the Quran.
And practices.
They didn't strictly practice the 5 pillars of Islam in the traditional way. It offered a unique kind of proto-Islam, specifically tailored for Black America at that time, and it deeply mixed in Christian and Eastern wisdom traditions as well.
So Ali's Holy Quran, definitely not the Quran then.
Definitely not the Quran. It was compiled by Ali. published in 1927. Part 1 contains narratives about Jesus' supposed travels in the East, taken almost word for word from that New Thought book, The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ.
And the second part?
Part 2 is called Holy Instructions, and it's adapted from various 19th century esoteric, Masonic, and Rosicrucian texts. The purpose, really, was to give his followers their own book, a foundational text for their identity and sermons, containing truths about their divine station and emphasizing the mind's power.
How directly does all this tie back into the broader New Thought movement we discussed?
Very, very directly. Moorish science is probably best understood as an Afrocentric branch, right there on the New Thought family tree. Ali explicitly borrowed from the Aquarian Gospel a key New Thought text.
And his background as a healer.
Right. He began his public career as Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept, a healer, which aligns perfectly with New Thought's early emphasis on mind cure. All the key New Thought ideas, the creative power of thought, the underlying unity of religions, the divine nature of man, are prominently present in Moorish science. It truly was mind science meets Black nationalism.
Did his influence extend beyond just the MSTA itself?
Oh, absolutely. His influence was significant. For instance, the Nation of Islam, NOI, owes a clear debt to the MSTA. Many early NOI members actually came from the Moorish Science Temple. They shared that core idea of changing the ex-slave mentality through a new identity.
So he paved the way.
He really helped pave the way for Black Muslim identity in America. More broadly, his movement contributed significantly to Black pride and self-determination. They were early practitioners of economic self-help, and he introduced concepts like meditation, yoga, alternative medicine into mainstream Black American discourse, which was quite pioneering.
What about those legendary trips to Egypt and Morocco? Did Ali really travel there?
That remains in the realm of legend versus verifiable fact. The Moorish tradition strongly holds that he did, receiving divine instruction. However, academic historians haven't found any concrete evidence of Timothy Drew actually leaving the U.S. during those formative years.
So more likely.
It's considered more likely that he traveled in a metaphoric or local sense, meaning he interacted intensely with Eastern immigrants, read texts voraciously, perhaps joined fraternal orders with Eastern themes, all within the U.S. The narrative of foreign travel served a powerful symbolic purpose for his movement, reinforcing his status as a conduit of ancient hidden wisdom.
Okay, let's directly compare Ali and Neville Goddard again. What's the core difference and the core similarity in their teachings on manifestation?
Core similarity. Both absolutely taught mind power and the divine nature of human beings, the power of consciousness to shape reality. Core difference. Ali's teachings were framed as a specific religious doctrine for a particular people, speaking of Allah, Moorish nationality, communal uplift. Neville's teachings were more of a mystical interpretation of the Bible, aimed at a general audience, focusing intensely on imagination as God or Christ within.
And their approach.
Ali built a concrete community, a structure, an organization. Neville was primarily a teacher, a lecturer, focusing on the individual's inner work. But crucially, both recognized the profound power of self-concept and the transformative impact of changing how you define and name yourself. Ali was, you could almost say, Neville Goddard plus Marcus Garvey with a dash of Eastern wisdom.
You used the term mind science.
Yeah.
How did Ali specifically use mind science in his teachings?
Right. Mind science is that broad set of teachings emphasizing the mind's primary role in health, success, and personal affairs, the idea that spirit and mind are the true reality. Ali used it powerfully.
In what ways?
He taught that belief and faith have tangible results in the world. He incorporated mental healing concepts. He framed the human struggle as one of knowledge versus ignorance, mastering the lower self. Even the MSTA's catechism, with its repetitive Q&A drills, functioned as a powerful form of autosuggestion, helping to recondition members' minds. He really applied mind science at both personal and group levels for mental emancipation.
And the law of attraction specifically, did Ali truly foreshadow it?
Yes, I think it's fair to say he did in many significant ways. While he didn't use that specific term, the underlying principles are there. He taught that mental states directly impact external reality.
Like vibrations.
Exactly. Aligning the mind with love, which we'd now call a high vibration, brings peace and harmony. Carnal thoughts, lower self-thoughts bring turmoil. His teaching that the universe is mental, and that our choice, our thought intention, is the causal agent. That's very much aligned with LOA's core underpinnings.
Even his own story.
You could even see his own story and the movement's growth as a form of manifestation lore. He envisioned a nation and spoke it into existence, in a sense.
Are Moorish Science Temple members today still engaging with these ideas of manifestation and mind power?
They absolutely are, and it really speaks to the enduring power of these concepts. Members continue to study Noble Drew Ali's teachings, naturally, and in contemporary times you find some who explicitly draw parallels between his teachings and modern New Age or LOA concepts.
Hope so.
Well, they might interpret the very word Islam not just as the religion, but acronymically as I, self-law, am master, signifying profound self-mastery through understanding universal laws. The enduring appeal of empowerment spirituality, especially the idea that thought is cause, experience is effect, is definitely alive and well within Moorish science circles today.
So for you listening, perhaps the most inspiring message from Noble Drew Ali is his profound power of self-knowledge and identity, the power they hold to literally transform your reality.
That idea that you are not who the world told you you were, that you are far greater, with a noble origin and purpose. It's incredibly potent.
And coupling that with his emphasis that love is the savior, that love is the highest power in the universe, it offers this pathway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To transcend limitations simply by bringing more love into every situation, starting with love for your true self.
It's quite remarkable. Noble Drew Ali, a man with little formal education, coming from a marginalized background in post-Reconstruction America, he managed to synthesize these complex philosophies and ignite a movement that genuinely changed countless lives.
His example really vividly illustrates that maybe no dream is too big and no person is too small when you feel aligned with a higher calling.
And that line from the Moorish Holy Quran, man cannot die, the spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die. It's such a powerful reminder that our true self, that divine spark Ali spoke of, is indestructible and eternally connected to the source of all life.
Noble Drew Ali's deep dive into manifestation, into the power of the mind. It wasn't just for personal gain. It was aimed at the liberation, the uplift of an entire people. And perhaps that's the final thought. It reminds us that by changing our minds, changing our conception of ourselves, we really can start to change the world around us.